Thank you, Jake, for that lovely music. Welcome. Friends, guests, members, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Little Rock. I'm Rebecca Retzel. It is my honor to serve as moderator tonight for this very special evening. It is so nice to see people's faces and to have everyone gathered. And I was a little bit tickled how many people said good morning to me when they walked in. Good evening to all. We have a lineup tonight to celebrate the space that we are in here. And because of who's coming up next, I'm going to raise this just a little bit. I will simply serve as moderator, inviting some special guests up to the microphone to honor and thank and appreciate all the work that has gone into this space that we call our spiritual home at UUCLR. First, I will invite up John McNee.
Thank you. And Jake, I would say hallelujah. You know, we finally got this project underway after an incredible amount of analysis and a whole lot of work. And then we formed a building committee. And that was over 6 years ago. And many of us have served the whole 6 years. And it's been a true pleasure. And I will name some names and talk about it. So for people who have served the whole 6 years, Dan Danielson, Bill Goolsby, Cater Reynolds, Mindy Morell, Phil Peters, Bill Kimple, who, as you know, became our extraordinary site manager. And I will tell you that what he did was approve the expenditure of $1.69 million, which turned into this wonderful place. Reverend Jan K. Nielsen, myself, and Cass Rifkin. But that wasn't all. Every time we got a new president-elect, they joined as well. And those people would be Sue McDonald, who became the chair and was a very active member of that committee, of course, Marcy Riggs, David McCullough, and so that was our base unit. And of course, what we don't know would fill up a huge space. So the teams, they're not exactly ad hoc because they've been here from the beginning and they're so important. Teams were formed to help us. And the first one on near my heart is the aesthetics team, which we fondly call the A-team. And that's Alice James, Deanne Shields-Marley, Nancy Kimple, Selma Blackburn, and our beloved Helen Pate, who we wish was alive to be here celebrating with us today. The benefit that the building committee received from the A-team allowed us to do our jobs instead of being in the woods and the weeds. And wonderful, wonderful advice we received, and I think probably 100% of the time followed. So I hope we did. Anyway, there's a financial team that's very important to this process. Bill Kimple, who I said approved spending $1.69 million. Mindy Morell, who wrote checks for $1.69 million. Sue McDonald, who audited Mindy's work. Cass Rifkin, our treasurer, who received pledges from all of us for $1.69 million. And Tom and Martha Rimmer, who audited the treasurer's work. And this team was so important, and they've done so well. Then there was the chancel team. Rebecca Rotzel, John Perez, Reverend Jan, Cater Reynolds, Alice James, Nancy Kimple. And after that, another favorite team, that would be the stained glass team. The most favorite team that both the artist Roberta Katz Messenger and Janice Peters recall working with. And that team was Janice Peters, Alice James, Nancy Kimple, and Cass Rifkin. So this group of people over this 6 years have been locked up with these architects, locked up with Alexi Keeves, our general contractor. They have been negotiating. Bill Kimple has been helping us every step of the way, and Bill Kimple is not here tonight because he's fishing with his grandchildren on the White River, and he should be. So anyway, it's been my pleasure to be a minor part of the building committee. It has been my pleasure to speak with you tonight. I think it's a glorious space, and I revel in it. Hallelujah.
Thank you, John, and to everyone who helped, and to all their significant others and friends who were also involved in all of those processes, supporting all the work that was getting done on the front lines. If you haven't, make sure you've looked top, side, front to back. Every detail was given with intention and care. I now invite our own, not for much longer, but still our own, Reverend Jan Nielsen to the mic.
I am very height challenged, and I have heels on tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. It is such an honor and a joy to be able to sit here and look out and see all of your faces as you came in and as you've been sitting here listening to Jake's music and just enjoying this beautiful space. And I want to offer a personal thanks to every single person who was a part of making all of this happen, and that is many, many people. It is my honor to be with you this evening for this celebration in the life of our church. This gathering to celebrate the more than 70 years of ministry of our church and to celebrate the renewal of our beautiful church home. Tonight is a time for fun and fellowship, a time to celebrate who we are together and all that we do together at this Unitarian Universalist Church of Little Rock. On this May evening, let us party and let us share in the joy. Tomorrow is a historic day, a time when the people of this church will rededicate their church home, and we, the congregation, will rededicate our hearts to the ministries we share. Shared ministries that offer hope for a better world. Since this is a historic time in the life of our church, I offer now just a few words of history, and many of you already know this history by heart, but I believe it's worth sharing again on this special night. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, the people of the congregation govern themselves, a way of church governance called congregational polity, also described in the words of the original document from 1648 as walking together, that document from colonial New England called the Cambridge Platform. The people of those early New England congregations pledged to walk together and to share the governance of their gatherings. Those folks are our spiritual ancestors, and we, their direct descendants. For these were the people of some of our country's oldest congregations, founded in the 1600s in New England, many of whom, beginning in the early 1800s, would declare themselves courageously Unitarian in faith. To this day, these church communities remain member congregations of our Unitarian Universalist Association. And now, in 2022, our Unitarian Universalist congregations carry forward this way of walking together first set forth in 1648. In our congregations, it is the people who hold the power to ordain and to call ministers. It is the people who build and care for their sacred spaces, their sanctuaries and gardens and gathering places. And it is the people gathered for worship who hold the power to dedicate and to rededicate their sacred spaces. As the minister of our congregation, I invite all of you, whether members, friends, or visitors, to return tomorrow morning when at 11 o'clock we will gather to celebrate our great congregation and the ministries we share, and also to rededicate both our church home and ourselves to our mission, to strive to build the beloved community. Everybody is welcome at tomorrow morning's celebration and rededication. We hope you will be a part of tomorrow's historic service. And now, in the spirit of celebration and with deep joy, we will light our chalice, symbol of our free faith tradition. We light our chalice to honor our past, for the prophets of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, who with courage and integrity preached a message of freedom and hope. For the founders of this Unitarian Universalist Church of Little Rock, and all who through the years have carried forward our way of faith, a way of love and of justice, inspired by our steadfast belief in the worth and dignity of all. We light our chalice to honor our present, for this community of hope where all are welcome, for our church home, this place for play and protest and prayer, for listening and laughter and learning, for curiosity and conversation and care. A sacred space made even more beautiful by the gifts of countless hearts and hands. And for all who gather here and go back out into the world in peace and let love guide the living of our days. We light our chalice to honor our future, our vision of building the beloved community, for our shared work to make this place a spiritual home for future generations, and for the gift we gathered here have inherited and shall pass to those who will dwell here after we are gone, the gift of an enduring faith, a lasting legacy of love and honor for all. Thank you all.
As John mentioned, Bill Kimball is not able to be with us tonight, but we do have his lovely other side here, Nancy. And Jerry has done a bit of work to prepare for this night so that Bill is not left out of this conversation. Jerry Blackburn is our longtime member, go-to kind of anything guy, but especially with AV. Thank you for putting the effort in to bringing Bill into our service tonight.
Okay, I'm Linda Van Blaricum, and I'm here to have a conversation with Nancy and Bill Kimball, because I can't think of two people in our church that better exemplify the theme of our 70th anniversary celebration as Bill and Nancy, because our theme is past, present, and future. So we're going to talk to them about their past, present, and future relationship to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Little Rock. And I want to start first with Nancy, since I think she has a unique past with the church. So Nancy, could you start just by telling us a little bit about how old you were and how it was that you came to this church?
All right. Well, first I have to tell a love story.
Okay.
My mom and dad had a long-distance courtship. Dad was living in Little Rock. My mother and I were living in Boston. Her first husband, my father, died from leukemia. So after a 6-month whirlwind courtship, Mom and Dad married, and Mom and I moved down to Little Rock. Dad and his family are Jewish. Mother wasn't. So Dad talked to the rabbi about telling Mother what's involved in becoming Jewish. And the rabbi says, no, she'll just have to find out on her own. And my father said, that's not fair to ask someone to change their religion without knowing anything about it. So he said, we'll find another place to go to church. So they found the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship
At the time.
At the time.
Probably it was just the Unitarian Fellowship.
That's true. It was
Yes.
just the Unitarian Fellowship in the American Legion Hall. I was 9 years old, and I remember going down the stairs of that building, downstairs to the basement, hole in the wall, curtains for dividing the classrooms.
Just curtains dividing the classrooms.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the church and went through religious education. And in junior high, the curriculum was about learning about different religions. And we would go every Sunday, one Sunday a month, to a different church. I remember we went to the Quaker meeting on the UALR campus. And of course, it was completely silent. But it was really a good experience for kids. So by the time I was a teenager, we had this location.
Here on Reservoir Road.
And it was just the sanctuary, the small sanctuary, and the RE building. And there was not a portico or a covering at all. It was just a sidewalk. And my dad was instrumental in obtaining the property here on Reservoir Road.
Oh, okay.
He was the one that got the gas line hooked up on the property.
Why don't you tell us your dad's name? So.
My father is Maxwell Joseph Lyons II, and my mother was Betty Harding Lyons. And my dad and several other men were the key cornerstones to finance and sign the loan.
Wow.
So I guess my dedication to this church and the commitment to serve goes back to the example my parents set. And it's just what I instinctively learned to do.
Really nice.
So,
yeah, you had a good beginning there.
Yes. But then when I went off to college, I didn't attend the fellowship that was just right off the campus at Fayetteville. Didn't go. And then when Bill and I married, we got married in his church, Westover Hills, with Fred Campbell officiating, who was a minister here,
Right.
along with Bill's minister. And it wasn't until our children were born that we came back to this church.
And what brought you back?
I think it's what happens to most young couples. They may not go to church initially, but when they start a family, they have that pull and desire to make a connection back with the church.
And everybody go to a church that
Yes.
everybody can feel comfortable. Okay.
So I remember being named at the American Legion Hall when I was 10 years old, blessed or whatever. My sister Sally was named and blessed, and so.
What was that like? What kind of ceremony was the naming?
We were each given a rose and basically a little water sprinkled on it, just
A blessing.
a blessing, basically.
Nice.
It was very nice.
Nice. Okay. Did you have to memorize any scripture or anything like that at that
No,
time?
no.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Anyway, I've lost my train of thought with where I was going with coming back to the church. We came back because our son was born. And
So
we
what
wanted-
year would that have been?
That was 1982.
1982. Okay.
And Lauren was 3, and Kyle was 6 months old, and Gene Rickard was the minister. And we wanted him blessed, and Lauren too at the same time. And then we just started coming back. And back in that day and time, there was our membership was large, and there were a lot of children. A lot of children. And it was just a really neat place to, back then, our circle of friends were from the church.
Right. And that was when I met you in the 80s. And we had lots of kids, and
Yes.
you and I were on the religious education
Yes, we
committee.
were.
And did a lot of planning and fun things, with the
Yeah.
kids and the camping and all the things that we
Yes.
did, the
Yes.
ad hoc camping
Yes.
that we did, yes.
Yeah.
Very good. And our membership was over 200 at that time.
Yes.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that brings us up to Bill, you coming into the church and becoming part of this community. So tell us what you remember about those early days.
Well, a lot of it was what you just said. It was a refreshing approach to theology and religion for me, being raised in Presbyterian church. I mean, I was raised born in St. Louis and lived in that area for a while. My father lived with Alcoa, and we moved to Pittsburgh when I was, I think, 8. And it was a very nice church there. Boy Scout troop, all that kind of stuff. Had a great time until 16. Then we moved here. And when I got out of high school and went to college, I couldn't go to church because at that time I was just tired of what I had grown up with in being told what to believe. I knew nothing about this faith, what I now call faith. But I actually think it was 1980 when we started coming occasionally.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 80.
But we just, I guess when you get to know people, which is a real key to having new people coming in, is try to get them to know.
Having a relationship.
Make a couple of friends pretty quickly, type of thing. But it was just great. I mean, we did have a lot of fun, and I got to start understanding, what some of this faith was about. I wouldn't consider myself a scholar by any means. I have my own interpretations of what I hear and how I choose to apply that.
That sounds very Unitarian, Universalist. Yes.
And so I was very comfortable. And I didn't really get involved too much then. It was more a spiritual connection, but also a social connection. But I didn't really get involved in much of anything until we moved back here in 2007.
2007.
Yeah, we were here for about till '88, then we moved away, transferred and worked, and went to several different places, but then we came back here in 2007 in the summer, and then we didn't really came back to the church until about January 2008.
Okay. So you've been back about 15 years, and even though you weren't terribly involved in committees or the leadership of the church at that time, things have sure changed. So tell us about what you've been doing lately with the church.
Somewhere along the way, I got involved in facilities, and Nell was basically facilities for a long time, and I think I started talking with her a little bit and maybe helping her do a few things, because by that time I retired. I was fortunate enough to retire early, and so
You had retired, and I think Bish and Chris had both died, and they've been a big piece of the facilities, and so there was a need.
I got to know Jerry, and I think Miranda Keith was here, and I kind of was talking to her a little bit about, we really need to form a team. There was one on the books, so to speak.
Right.
But I've always liked to fix things and make things physically better. I've done it my whole life, growing up, and anywhere I lived, I was always building something or doing something to improve what we had.
Okay.
So it was kind of natural for me to do that, and so I think that's when we really started getting pretty organized and had more people to look to do it, and we worked together 10 years at least, and then I think Miranda wanted to do something different, and so I said, well, I'll take it, and since then
You have found your niche.
Oh, yeah, I found a niche. More than I can say grace over sometimes.
And both of you have been extremely involved and instrumental in making this new space, what it is today, the remodel. Nancy, you've been on the aesthetics end of things, and you've been on the more hands-on concrete supervising so much of what's actually going on day to day here.
More like hurting, I think.
Hurting, yeah. So Nancy, why don't you comment on the aesthetics and what you've been doing in the recent couple of years here at the church?
Bill hand-selected 5 women, 2 of whom were interior designers, and others were 2 were artists who had a good eye, and his wife, and charged us with the task of coming up with a design that was cohesive and with purpose. And that's where we started. We started with a color scheme, picked out the colors, and we started with the RE building. And unfortunately, we lost Helen to pancreatic cancer. Just about the time we had made all the furnishing selections for the RE wing, and it was almost done, but not quite. So that was a loss.
Yes.
And then COVID hit, and 2 of the other members were immunocompromised. So they were sort of homebound, which left Alice and myself. And boy, you know, what a way to make a friendship, to work side by side with somebody. And Alice and I would end up laughing every time we were on some shopping trip or something happened, and we've made lemonade out of lemons many times.
Many times.
Many times. And so after the RE wing, it was a sanctuary. And it was Alice's idea to make it all white.
Ah, it was beautiful.
It was her idea.
It's really
And
beautiful.
at first I thought, oh, how sterile that would be, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I thought the same
Right.
thing.
But
It's not all white, but now that we have these incredible
Yes.
stained glass windows and everything coming together, it's beautiful.
yeah.
Yes.
The 18 had a part with the stained glass windows in that we contracted with Roberta Katzenberger to do these too. And it was
Right.
a fun committee to be on.
You called it the A-team. Tell us
Oh,
why
the
it's called
A-team.
the A-team.
It's the aesthetics team.
Yes.
But that's such a mouthful to say. So we're the A-team, and we are.
It didn't start out being planned. I mean,
Right.
the stained glass windows was a late addition. That was an idea that came from, I think, Cass and a couple of other people on the
And I think for
building committee.
years, Selma, we've all talked about
Got these guys
yeah,
involved,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, it's not a new idea.
Right,
boy,
but it was the zeitgeist. It was,
Well, I
it was
think-
the right time.
I think Janice, and especially Janice,
Yeah.
wanted
Yes.
stained glass windows.
Janice.
Janice Peters.
Okay,
I think
Okay.
that was the,
okay, so the right combination of
Yes.
people and money and all those
Exactly,
things came
exactly.
together.
and
Yeah.
I need to mention the other 2 ladies on the A-team,
Okay,
Selma Blackburn and Deanne Shields Marley.
right,
And their artistic eye is seen everywhere,
right, everywhere,
everywhere.
yes. In fact, these chairs that we're sitting in, I think Deanne purchased a long time ago.
Yes,
Yes.
and we had them sandblasted and powder coated, and they look brand new.
They're amazing, yes, they're amazing, yeah. So, past, present, off and on for the last 30
Right.
years, future. Let's talk about the future from y'all's perspective, the future of this church.
The future of this church will be with the children. We need to have families with young children. That's the future. Otherwise, we've done all of this for nothing.
Right.
My whole drive, really, other than my desire and habit of trying to improve things for particularly this congregation, was to, at a minimum, get RE fixed, because I'm with her. I think the future of the church is the children. And it's actually kind of shameful that we waited as long as we did to fix a structure that was completely spent.
Especially the RE wing.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
The RE building was of no value hardly certainly to attracting
Right.
new families and even older members. I'd also like to say, for the record, that Rich Roy and Sue McDonald, in particular, not that the building committee didn't work hard on this and had very good judgment and decisions, I think, that we made. We managed to spend more than all the money. But those 2 in particular have helped me quite a bit in helping organize things. And Rich is just a good sidekick of mine, and we
Yes.
get a lot of stuff done. So
Yes.
I want them to know that I really appreciate it.
So the future has the foundation,
Yes,
and now we have built it,
yes,
and we hope they come.
exactly.
Okay? Okay.
Yeah, and they will.
Thank you for all you've done.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
We've listed names, we've listed committees, but thank you. From all of us on all the committees and from our leadership, we just thank you to everyone. And thank you for all of you coming out here tonight to recognize the hard work and the many years that have gone into this, this spiritual home. So we are inviting you now. I am going to have a couple of these ladies raise their hands. If you would like to join us for refreshments and the second part of our celebration, you are welcome to join us in the Meadow Wing in the Thompson Hall area. But Nancy, would you please raise your hand? Nancy Kimple will be available if you would like to take a tour of our RE wing and see the renovation that's happened over there. You are welcome to do that. And Joanne, would you raise your hand? Joanne Crane. She gets a huge round of applause for the work that she's been doing out in the woodlands. And are you still available for tours at dusk? If anybody would like to walk out here on the deck, you can go down the stairs and take a look at all the work that's been happening with the landscaping and this lovely acreage that the church has valued and preserved over the years. Join us for refreshments. Thank you all, and we will adjourn this part of our service to celebrate on the other side. Thank you.